Welcome back, everybody. Episode 2 of Junior College Hard 90. We made it to the second episode. Zach McKinstry and Noah Sharp here talking about NJCAA baseball. And a lot happened last week. But first things first, let's go over the fit here, Noah. Rocking another new school in week 2.
Hey, I told everyone that I was gonna do it, and you might as well have some fun with it. We're rocking the what is it, Team USA from their international trip this year in the hat, and then we got Southeastern Illinois on a pullover. So hey, each school's we're gonna get a shout out to all the schools. If we're gonna do the show, we might as well have a little fun with it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, a lot of crazy games this week, and I'm excited to kind of go over it.
Let's dive into Division One and a big recap from last week. We talked a little bit about the preview for how we were excited for Weatherford playing New Mexico Junior College, coming off a couple of big wins. Well, we kind of overlooked the big third team that had their performance last weekend in Dodge City, the third team in that round robin. They got 2 upsets in some slugfest. They beat New Mexico 16-15, and then number 3 Weatherford 18-17. So talk about gritty games. That's about as intense as it gets. The notes I had for that one: Josh McClintock and Juan Concepcion combined it for 12 hits, 11 runs, 11 RBIs, and 3 homers. So that's a good doubleheader for a team. But those 2 guys have been getting it done. McClintock, a transfer from East Central, came over with Coach Kelly, and then Concepcion was a bounce back from Nicholls State. And then prior to Saturday's loss, 6-0 start for Dodge City, their best since 2016. So what is Coach Kelly cooking in year 1 at Dodge City?
I know he got things rolling over there at East Central last year, and I know he brought a lot of those guys over. Another big one, big contributor for that team this past week was Marcos Santiago. Had 2 appearances, ended up starting, I believe, started a game and then came in and closed another game. Got the win, I believe, against Weatherford, and then got the save against New Mexico. I might have that flipped. He got the save against one of them and the win against the other one. But I mean, 3 innings, 2 Ks. I mean, with that kind of offense, to have no earned runs too, with how those scores were awesome. I think I said in one of the things I wrote was, if there's a game below 10 runs for each team, like, I don't see that happening. It actually ended up happening. I think New Mexico beat Weatherford 6-2 or something, but their wind was blowing out, tons of hits, tons of runs. It was awesome. I talked to all the coaches over there and they loved it. But that was Dodge City was one that I don't know how we missed it, but I think their poise this next week is going to be a really big kind of test for them in the Jayhawk conference over there. So I think we'll get into that later though.
Yeah, how about those uniforms, huh? Those like faded purple that the Conquistadors have been wearing? Really nice.
Oh, I got those tees and I was like, JM, why are you doing to me like that? And I know they got some awesome Adidas gloves too, and they got some purple ones, and they like it over there. Let's just put it that.
So for Dodge City, obviously those big wins. Any other notables out of the Weatherford and New Mexico crowd?
I think really the bats were the bats. That was, I think, going to be obvious. I mean, I'm going to butcher his name, but the New Mexico catcher, heard nothing but great things about him. I mean, a catcher that can hit the leadoff is something you don't usually see. As far as I know, he was uncommitted. I know the end of last year, a lot of Division Ones, Division Twos were, scrounging for a catcher towards the end of the year. And when I reached out to them, they're like, he wants to come back for another year. So I know he's just as highly sought after this year as he was last year. And from whatever, like, he can run, he can hit, he can field. So, I mean, he's a pretty complete catcher over there.
Moving on to another Division One matchup we were super excited about last week. Iowa Western against Crowder. The Reavers take 2 of 3, but all 3 games decided by 1 run. Cooper Neville had 7 hits on the weekend. He's a guy that played 20 games at Grand Canyon last year, who was an NCAA regional team. So talk a little bit about being in dogfights like that on the road early in the season and what that can do for a team's confidence, especially for a Reavers team that kind of struggled out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa Western also doesn't usually come down. I know the last 2 years they've come down to Texas to play earlier. Usually they don't play until maybe the middle of March, or this season, or this series is that first one they end up playing. But they always play each other real well. I mean, they've met, I want to say, in Grand Junction a handful of times outside of this one. But again, these teams they're just getting going. I think Iowa Western, they got more going. But it's apparently, I said this too much last week, but they're going to be fine and come a couple weeks. You're still ironing out some things. You're still getting things figured out. I know Crowder's kind of had a bit more time and played a bit of other games. So they're kind of getting going. But I know Iowa Western, once those arms get rolling and with all those bats, I mean, I had them number one for a reason. I think they're still going to be able to get it going, but it's a little bit slower start than I think they wanted.
Yeah, and when we saw that progression in that Crowder series, again, Crowder was preseason number 10, I believe, in the NJCAA rankings.
Mhm.
And that's two tough teams to win a couple of one-run games like that in a tight series the whole way. Pretty impressive for Iowa Western.
Mhm.
The last one that we had for Division One, McLennan and Cowley. The Highlanders take 2 of 3. A walk-off 1-0 winner in the opener, and the pitching staff for McLennan 10 strikeouts to 1 walk. And then at the plate, Jackson Irons was the guy on the weekend. 6 hits for him, and he's been a top bat for McLennan so far this year. 500 batting average through their 5 games. So, what'd you like in that McLennan and Cowley matchup?
I tuned in that one a little bit, not as much as the Dodge City Weatherford one, but this was one. Cali comes down, they're coming down south, getting out of Kansas. Everyone I know was getting out of Kansas. Unfortunately for me, everyone gets out of Kansas, Oklahoma, and this weekend I decided to go to Oklahoma. So why that happened, I don't know. But uh, from what I saw, those teams are two teams that I think are poised to make deep runs in a very, very competitive Kansas team and Cowley. I mean, you're gonna have to go against the Johnson counties if Dodge City keeps going like they're going. You're gonna have to face them. You're gonna have to face some Garden Cities, Johnson counties. They're gonna face all that. And then you have McLennan, who this really for them, I think, is a better test to see where they're going to be come conference play with how deep that side of the region is. With Weatherford all freaking go, but both teams I think are heading in the right direction, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
On to Division Two, there was the John Tyndall Classic last weekend. It was St. John's River State, Heartland, Northeast Mississippi, South Florida State, Central Alabama, and Jones. So a loaded invitational classic tournament. And all of those teams pretty much had their moments. So St. John's River State, the Vikings had a walk-off against Northeast Mississippi on a 2-out bottom of the ninth solo homer. And then a few games later, walked off Jones, trailing 8-6 in the ninth. They put up a 3 spot. Heartland finished 2-3, but they did beat St. John River State in the opener after the Hawks pitching left 15 runners stranded. And then Northeast, 2 wins over Heartland, and then a win over East Central, not as a part of that classic, but in a midweek 10-8, a big win in Mississippi. And Drake Douglas, the hero in that one, with a homer and a double in the win. So, what were the big takeaways for you out of that classic with all of those big Division Two teams playing?
So Heartland going down there, I think showed a lot. They don't usually travel that far this early. I know they usually make a spring break trip. I think they usually go down to Mississippi. I think they sometimes go out to the Carolinas to the was it the Russ Mat. I know they've gone that to a couple years. Well, gone to that a couple times. But Northeast really impressed me. I think that was the one big takeaway is that if they're doing this against Heartland, who's won a national title in the last few years, doing this against St. John Rivers, who's been a top 10 finisher the last 2 years and gone to eat the last couple years, that when they come to Mississippi, Pearl River and East Mississippi and Jones and Hines, they're all going to have to it's not going to be I mean, I've always said this, Mississippi is not an easy state to get out of. And this just shows that they can go play nationally ranked teams in another state at a neutral site and win. So now they're going to be playing games at home, and it's just going to be tougher. So Northeast, I think, showed a lot for me this past weekend.
And even with as well as they played, they weren't the star out of Mississippi last week. How about East
Mm-mm.
Mississippi and the Lions? They swept Chipola and Wallace CC Dothan, 45 runs in 4 games. I don't know where the offense came from for the Lions, but they definitely were peaking last week with those 4 straight wins. And then I don't know if you saw this story, Noah, but Otis Brooks III, a relief pitcher for East Mississippi, his father passed away earlier in the week, comes out of the pen trailing 2-0 and goes 6 innings of 1-run ball to get the W in one of those games, retiring 12 in a row. So cool story there. Shout out to the East Mississippi SID staff for putting that out in their recap.
Yeah, that was one. I'm going through stuff for my end, and I see, oh, okay, East Mississippi. Or, I go to the D1s, and I'm like, oh, cool, they beat Chipola. That's awesome. And then you keep going, and then I go to the Division 2 side, and I'm going down the teams. See, okay, yeah, I know they beat Chipola. Oh, they beat Dothan. And I think Dothan really is struggling. We're not talking about them right now, but I think they're really kind of struggling. They started not great, and they haven't really continued. So think some panic lights might be going on over there. But Man, that's one of those things uh for Otis, just like that's what makes baseball freaking awesome. It's like you know the guys rallied around and they're like, "Hey, go just focus on pitching and something awesome happened." And you're like, I got my team, the team's backing me and we're going through this together. So, great job for East Mississippi as a whole. Great job for Otis, the team. Just it's awesome to hear about all that.
Yeah, obviously wishing the best to Otis and his family. East Mississippi, congratulations. Really cool story and obviously a couple of big wins. Let's move down to Division Three. Dallas College Richland. They dropped 2 of 3 to Amarillo. They snapped the 1-8 skid with a comeback walk-off 8-7 win against Division 1 North Central Texas. And then Eastfield takes 2 of 3 against Division 2 Des Moines area. That was a matchup that we were previewing last week. And then finally, another matchup that we were excited for, Division 3 RCSJ Gloucester against number 7 Surrey in the preseason polls. That was going to be their opener, but of course, weather canceled it. RCSJ Gloucester won't play again until this weekend, so we missed out on that one. But of the Division 3 slate, anything stand out to you?
No, I mean there were some other ones. I think Owen and Camp was another one I was super looking forward to. They got canceled. I know this upcoming weekend there's already been more. I mean you're dealing with weather in the Carolinas. I'm dealing with weather in Texas. They're dealing with weather in the Chicagolands and all that. And there's a really cool D2 kind of field, but it's got a D3 school that I'm really excited to see them get going. And that's been pushed to like Monday, Tuesday now. But Mother Nature's on one this year. I don't know what someone did to her, but Mother Nature's on one. But Richland, man, it's been kind of a struggle for them. I know Brookhaven, I think won there. I don't think they played on the weekend. They played some midweeks, but they looked really strong. But I'm ready for more schools at the Division 3 level to start playing other than Dallas because I'm a Texan. I live in Dallas. Like I'm a little bit of a homer, sure, but like I love the Division 3s. I need Minnesota to start going. I need the Carolinas. I need the freaking New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I need all that to start going because that's really getting into the weeds and that's the fun one. I love all of junior college baseball, but the Division 3 ones are the funnest because if you know, you know, and if you don't, well, I'm gonna tell you why you should know. And but I'm ready for them to all get going.
Yeah, I think SUNY Niagara starts, if not next weekend, the following weekend, and so should the most of those Division 3 schools coming up. So that wraps up our eventful recap. Obviously, a lot happening on the junior college baseball slate last weekend. Plenty more to come. On the other side of this break, we'll go through the upcoming matchups for Divisions 1, 2, and 3. So stay with us on Junior College Hard 90.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
Welcome back into Junior College Hard 90. We have some upcoming matchups in the coming weeks. Here with Noah Sharp, I'm Zach McKinstry, and let's dive into it. Division 1, a couple of ranked matchups this weekend. Number 14, Gaston, and number 8, Florence Darlington Tech. That's always a good one. Two teams that compete in the region for a spot in Colorado every single year. And then you've got number 4, Florida Southwestern versus number 22, Indian River State. And the other big matchup we saw on the D1 slate, El Paso Community College, 11-1 this year, taking on Western Oklahoma State, who's off to a good start as well at 7-2. So Noah, of those three, what catches your eye and what excites you most?
So with Gaston and Flodar, that's one, I believe they did it last year too, where they play each other on the bookends of their conference schedule. So they play the first weekend, they play the last weekend, and those last two have meant who goes or who wins conference against the one seed in the regional. So this is, I mean, it's weird to say this is a very important series to win this early, but in the grand scheme of things, it'll most likely come down to those two. And I believe it's at Flodar this week. I believe they end the year at Gaston. Florida Southwestern and Indian River State. I mean, Indian River State really came on strong in the Panama City deal, and Florida Southwestern really has shown why a lot of people like them. And they haven't usually by this point, they're kind of fallen off, but they haven't, and they both have had foot on their gas. So that's going to be a big old, I believe it's a conference match too. If I'm not mistaken, I get really confused with where all the Florida schools are. Whoa. And then with El Paso and Western Oklahoma State, that's one. El Paso's offense has been crazy. I think they're top 5 in the country in extra base hits. They're, I think, top 10 in doubles. Western Oklahoma, they've killed it the last 2 weeks. They're going down there. I know texting with El Paso's coach today, getting some information, but I go, hey, are y'all playing? Because Mother Nature's been crazy. He goes, dude, it's 62. It's supposed to be 72 on Saturday. And I go, man, that's El Paso for you. But that one's going to be a lot of fun. I think El Paso's finally started clicking. Like, hopefully, if you followed me, you've known I've been a big El Paso fan the last few years, and they just have not panned out. But I think this year, hopefully, from the looks of it, I mean, conference is going to be crazy. But I'm excited to see where this one, I think, is really going to test to see if it's just been luck or if it's like, hey, we've got something cooking for El Paso.
Yeah, and they're on a 7-game win streak right now, too, so trying to keep that rolling against Western Oklahoma State. On to Division II, you got number 7 Kirkwood against East Central Mississippi, the preseason number 2 team in Division II, coming off that loss against Northeast earlier this week. That matchup's on Saturday, and then number 12 Jones against number 5 Pearl River next Wednesday, a little bit further out, but still a big matchup coming down the pipe.
So those are going to be a lot of fun. I know the midweeks in Mississippi are awesome. I know they've ended up being kind of crazy. I think last year there was one with East Central and Pearl River, and I think it ended up deciding who gets the 1 seed, who gets the 2 seed. But both of these are going to be, and I believe they're going to have, if it's at Pearl, they'll have the stream. So that's one on a Wednesday night. If you've got nothing to do, I would tune into it.
Yep, on to Division III. RCSJ does open their season this weekend against Chesapeake College after that Surrey cancellation last weekend. Outside of that, any other big D3 matchups, Noah?
I know Joliet was supposed to get going in I think it's a Venice tournament, but weather obviously has pushed that. I think they're playing Monday, Tuesday now instead of Friday, Saturday. But other than that, the D3s are kind of quiet this week.
Yeah, so be sure to tune in to the big matchups coming up this weekend and into the week for Division I and Division II. But that wraps up our upcoming segment. So around the corner after this break, we've got our Hard 90, second Hard 90 of the season, as Noah breaks down 90 seconds of junior college baseball. Stay with us.
What makes a life a good one? Is it our adventures? Or the friends we find along the way? Is it the challenges we conquer together? Maybe it's the people's lives we touch every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to Junior College Hard 90. It is time for Noah Sharp to give 90 seconds on junior college baseball. Noah, your Hard 90 starts now.
So we hit it perfectly last time. So we got 3 things we're going to hit this week. So Dylan Grabowski has been on fire this year. Preseason 2-way player of the year for a reason, and he has shown yet again that he's doing it. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I think he 10 strikeouts and a no-hitter, or close to a no-hitter, maybe a one-hitter. But this past week, no-hitter, 7 innings, 15 Ks, 2 walks, and in the same game went 2 for 3 with 2 doubles. Like, you throw a no-hitter and you hit 2 doubles, that's wild. When it comes to another one, Snead State's Caleb Benton hit .636 on the weekend with 2 doubles and 3 homers. That's wild. And then rounding it out, a newcomer to the junior college route, we have Pellissippi State, or I guess not a new junior college, but new to sports. Other than beating, they took one game from Georgia Highlands about a week ago. This week, they took a series from Tennessee Power Walter State, beating them or losing game 1, 0-11, and then going 2-1, 2-0, two pitchers that were lights out. One, I think, struck out 10 in the one-run game, and the other one, complete game shutout, striking out, I believe, 8. But yeah, hopefully I got that in 90. I think I went a little long.
I think you got on this one. You nailed it. For Pellissippi State, that's unbelievable. First year in their baseball season. And then obviously the series win over Walter State, taking 1 of 4 against Georgia Highlands. But what a job by that coaching staff and that whole athletic department to put together a competitive team in year 1. So props to them out there in Tennessee. But that wraps up our Hard 90 and wraps up our show. So Noah, any final thoughts?
Let's get into week 5. I mean, I think it's week 5. I'm all off on all these, but I'm ready for it.
Different starting points everywhere with D1, D2, and D3. But whatever week it is, we'll be here to cover it. So back again next week to dive into more junior college baseball. Thanks again for everybody tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday.